August 20, 1969, a tragic event unfolded at Ada's bar. David Lee Grimm shot Simon's father, setting off a chain of legal and personal consequences that would echo for decades. This incident not only devastated a family, but also became the starting point for a series of legal proceedings and curious timeline coincidences. As we begin our exploration, let's look at how this single act led to a complex web of appeals, court dates, and unexpected connections to major world events. Following the shooting, the state of West Virginia brought charges against David Lee Grimm. The case, State vs. Grimm, moved through the courts, culminating in a final judgment in Wood County on September 17, 1970. The legal process was far from straightforward, as appeals and writs of error would soon follow. This scene sets the stage for the lengthy legal journey that would keep the case in the spotlight for years. After the initial verdict, a writ of error was granted on March 29, 1971, allowing the case to be appealed. The appeal was officially submitted to the Supreme Court of Appeals of West Virginia on January 17, 1973. Legal proceedings often move slowly, and this case was no exception. The appeal process introduced new questions and extended the timeline, keeping the case unresolved for several more years. Supreme Court finally decided on the appeal on April 10, 1973. This decision marked a significant milestone in the case, but it also became a reference point for some unusual timeline calculations. The legal journey, filled with delays and continuations, had now spanned nearly 4 years since the original incident. Yet the story was far from over, as the dates themselves would later be linked to major world events in unexpected ways. Years after the legal proceedings, questions began to arise about the timelines associated with the Grimm case. Specifically, some noticed curious numerical connections between the dates of the appeal and major historical events, such as the Pan Am Flight 103 bombing in 1988 and the 9/11 tragedy in 2001. These observations sparked intrigue and speculation about whether these were mere coincidences or something more meaningful. One of the most striking connections involves the time between the appeal submission on January 17, 1973, and the Pan Am Flight 103 bombing on December 21, 1988. Excluding the end date, the total is 24 days. This number was reinterpreted as 6240, which later became associated with Simon's 6240 Malvern home in 2001. Such numerical links, while likely coincidental, add an intriguing layer to the story. Another calculation draws a line from the Supreme Court's decision date, April 10, 1973, to the Pan Am bombing in 1988. Including the end date, the total is 5735 days, and excluding it, 5734 days. Adding these gives 11,469, which some reinterpret as 9/11/01, the date of the World Trade Center tragedy. These numerical coincidences, while fascinating, remain speculative and open to interpretation. Story takes another turn when examining Simon's personal life. The time between Simon's divorce on April 8, 1994, and the US presidential election on November 7, 2000, is 2406 days. Once again, this number is linked back to the 6240 Malvern home in 2001. These repeated references to the same address through different timelines add a layer of mystery and personal significance to the narrative. As we look back on the case of David Lee Grimm and the timelines that connect it to major world events and personal milestones, we're left with more questions than answers. Are these numerical patterns simply coincidences, or do they hint at deeper connections? While the facts remain grounded in legal history, the interpretations invite us to consider the ways in which our lives and world events can sometimes intersect in the most unexpected ways.